What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode, but before we go on I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, and I can't stress that enough, and that the player ratings and potentials of the players may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. Obviously you don't have to follow all the tips, this is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those of you out there who may be new to the game and just need a little bit of advice, or for those of you out there who just want a few recommendations on what players you could sign for a team that you're using in career mode this year. So yes, we are back with another episode of Who to Sign For. It's been about a month since my last episode. Obviously it's been quite hectic for me lately with moving house, but we're back for another episode of Who to Sign For today, and I thought I'd take a look at who to sign for a Barcelona career mode, because Barcelona have just changed their manager in real life. Yes, Valverde has left the camp now, and it's Quique Setién who has now taken over, the former Real Betis coach, as the new Barcelona manager. And I'd imagine Barcelona will be a team that a lot of people will be using in career mode this year, so I thought I'd give my tips on who to sign for their Catalonia Giants. Now, as you can see, it starts with a massive budget in the game of around £169 million. However, with wage budget alteration, you're more likely to be looking at around £195 to £200 million due to the fact in the game this year, you're always given a very generous wage budget to start the game off. So yeah, you're looking at around 190 to 200 million pounds in the first season, so an absolutely monstrous transfer budget. It is of course a 5-star team, one of the best teams in the game as well, but what comes with a big big budget and one of the best teams in the game? Big objectives. As you can see in the first season with Barcelona, the objectives could not be stronger. You have got to win the treble. That's the domestic double, La Liga and the Copa del Rey, and you've got to win the Champions League as well. But it's definitely doable, no doubt about it. You've got £200 million to play with, or around £200 million after the wage budget alteration, and you've got an amazing side as well that normally operate in a 4-3-3. It's got some really good young talent to look out for in the future as well. A few senior players who you will look to start replacing in the first couple of seasons, but in general, it's an amazing 5-star team with very little negative to it whatsoever. It's got good young talent for the future, it's got great players in their peaks right now, and the experienced senior players such as Suarez and Messi and Busquets and Piqué and Jordi Alba are still really good, even though they're in their advancing years right now as well. In general, this Barcelona team is absolutely stacked, and there is very little negative to it whatsoever. So whilst the objectives are incredibly strong to win the treble, the strongest they could be, it is definitely doable right from the get-go, this Barcelona team, even without spending the £200 million or around the £200 million you've got to play with in the first season. So let's take a look at the Barcelona side. As you saw right there, it is lining up in a 4-3-3, and this is their team in full. Again, you can see some of the senior players such as, again, Messi and Suarez, the South Americans, both in their early 30s now. They've got two players in their deals that come at the end of the year. Those are Chumi and Danny Mora, who is a right back. Both of these players are in their early 20s. The right back is 21 and Chumi is 20. Both in their mid-60s for overall. I recommend giving Chumi a new contract, but I'd let Danny Mora go as his potential is not the highest. And they've got a few players out on loan right now as well, including Philippe Coutinho, who is the pick of the bunch, the former Liverpool man. 86 rated right now on loan at Bayern Munich. I would recall him from his loan spell. It's only going to cost you around £2 million to do so. And at 86 overall, 27 years old, he's good enough to play a role in your first team right from the get-go. Or if you want to do so, you can recall him and then sell him for a big amount of money as well. Right now, him being out on loan at Bayern Munich isn't really going to do you any favours whatsoever. But if a players I look to sell with Barcelona in the first season, one of those is one of the two players that are out of contract in the end of the season. That's Danny Mora, the young right back. You won't get much for him. However, I would recommend also putting Sergio Roberto and Vidal on the transfer list as well. Now, of course, Roberto's been at Barcelona for as long as I can remember. A very, very good player that can play right back and also through the middle of the park as well. With Nelson Semedo as your starting right back, 82 overall, you're probably going to look to sign a new right back in the first season, as he is the lowest overall player in your starting 11 right from the get-go. And as for Arturo Vidal, this guy's a serial winner, man. Wherever this guy goes, he wins trophies. There's no doubt about that. His list of accolades and honours is absolutely monstrous. However, at 32 years old, 84 rated, on a very high salary as well, he's He's only got, I believe, 2 years left on his deal. I would recommend cashing in on the Chilean right from the get-go, as you've got a really stacked central midfield role to begin with the new boys Arthur and De Jong as well. Plus, there's always a chance you'll sign a new central midfielder in the first season too, so I would let Vidal go, and possibly Rakitic as well. However, I'd probably keep Rakitic personally, but if you want to sell Rakitic too, he's also in his early to mid-30s. You can do that, but definitely cash in on Arturo Vidal. He's a great player, no doubt about it. I really love watching him play, but personally, I'd look to sell him in the first season. So, Sergio Roberto and Vidal, you can get around £30 million each for the two players there. We sold Roberto for £30 million to PSG, I think it was, and we also sold Arturo Vidal to Arsenal for, I think it was £27 million. Yeah, £27 million. So £57 million raised for those two players right there. Roberto at 27 years old, still has a few years to go before he starts declining, but again, at 82 rated, he's underneath Nelson Semedo's overall, whilst being older than Nelson Semedo. And again, you are going to look to sign a new backup right back in the first choice right back in the first season anyway. And once you sold those two players right there, that bumps your budget up to around 240 to 245 million pounds. So your transfer budget, which was monstrous to begin with, has gotten even bigger. But as for new signings with Barcelona, after you've culled those two players out to begin with, I would recommend a new backup striker or perhaps backup inside forward. Now, the first signing with Barcelona all depends on what you do with Antoine Griezmann. As we know, Luis Suarez is 32 years old, and while still banging in the goals left, right and centre, at some point you will look to replace the Uruguayan in the near future with a new striker. Now, either you play Griezmann in Suarez's role as the striker, or you keep him on the left-hand side. What you plan to do with Griezmann should dictate what type of player you bring in. I had 5 names on the shortlist here: Timo Werner, Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial, Goncalo Guedes, and Lautaro Martinez, who they're very heavily linked with right now in real life. Now, if you plan on using Griezmann as an inside forward on the left-hand side, even though he's a left-footed player, then I would recommend going after Werner or Lautaro Martinez, as they're both out-and-out strikers. However, if you plan to play Griezmann as a striker once Suarez begins to decline, then I would recommend a new inside forward on the left-hand side, and one of the 3 recommendations would be Rashford, Martial, or Goncalo Guedes of Valencia. My recommendation with Barcelona is to play Griezmann through the middle as a striker. Once Suarez begins to decline, phase Griezmann into the middle and bring in someone who can cut in from the left-hand side. And the recommendation out of the 3, Rashford, Martial or Guedes, really it's totally up to you who you go with here, but I went with Marcus Rashford. He cost me around £45 million, and Rashford is just 22 years old. However, this guy's 83 rated, has 88 potential, and he's absolutely rapid. Sorry, 21 years old, not 22 years old. So he's the youngest of the 3 players, and his stats are fantastic, because whilst he's got the 88 potential, with dynamic potential, it can increase to 90 plus. He'll become one of the best players in the world in the future with the dynamic potential. He's got high medium work rates, 5-star skills, and with 89 acceleration and 94 sprint speed, in the first season, Rashford is going to be coming off the bench, and with those high medium work rates as well, this guy is the perfect impact sub, either as a striker or as an inside forward on the left-hand side. So again, it all depends on what you're going to do with Antoine Griezmann. If you play Griezmann on the left-hand side, then I'll look to bring in a new replacement striker for Suarez, either Lautaro Martinez or Timo Werner. Or if you want a replacement in the first season, then perhaps even Harry Kane. But my personal recommendation is to buy a new inside forward on the left-hand side. And again, I would choose either Rashford, Martial, or Goncalo Guedes. So again, it all really depends on what you plan to do with Antoine Griezmann. But if you do it with my suggestion, which is to have Griezmann playing as a striker once Suarez begins to decline, then I'll look for the inside forward. Rashford, in my opinion, is the pick of the 3, even though any of the 3, Rashford, Guedes, or Martial, will be excellent additions to your team. So yeah, Rashford was my first signing in this Barcelona career here for £45 million. To get £45 million for a player that, with dynamic potential, can get into the 90s is an absolute steal. And with his stats as well, as an impact sub in the first season, running at tired legs, replacing Suarez, Griezmann or Messi, he'll be a real handful for opposition back fours in later stages of the game. But after signing a Rashford for just £45 million, we still had tons of money left to play with. And my next recommendation for a new player of Barcelona would be a new first choice right back after you've sold Sergio Roberto. Nelson Semedo is the lowest rated player in your first 11 right from the get-go, so I would recommend a new starting right back. My number one target would be either Kimmich or Trent Alexander-Arnold. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to get hold of the German due to the fact that Bayern Munich don't have much depth in the game. But Alexander-Arnold, 84 rated, 20 years old, is not going to cost you that much money due to EA's broken transfer market in FIFA career mode. He'll cost you around 40 to 45 million pounds. We agreed a deal of 44 million pounds for Alexander-Arnold, and as we know, this guy's one of the best young right backs in fact, scratch that, he's one of the best right backs in the world. He's only 20 years old, but this guy is absolutely fantastic. He really is superb, and his best stat as well is crossing at 92, and his second best stat, long pass 87. This guy is going to get assists for days in for your front three. He's got 80, I think it's 88 or perhaps 89 potential. Starts off 84 rated with a 4-star weak foot and high medium work rates, 85 stamina, so he'll bomb up and down the pitch all day long. Defensively, he's solid, but he's so good when going forward as well. As a wing back, this guy is going to be very hard to stop. Once he gets forward into those dangerous areas, into the final third, he'll really assist your front three. And with the 92 crossing, certainly be a handful and a different option when the intricate passes are not working. So definitely recommend Alexander-Arnold as your new starting right back again. He's got 80, I think it's 88 or 89 potential, and an 84 rated as well. He's already 2 ratings higher than Nelson Semedo, despite being several years younger. So definitely recommend Alexander-Arnold. He will be an absolute boss and a great addition to your new look back four. So Alexander-Arnold and Rashford were in as my first 2 signings, but despite signing those 2 players for under £100 million, we still had over £100 million to work with. So who would I recommend for my next signing for a Barcelona career mode? Well, I'd recommend a new central midfielder after the sale of Arturo Vidal, and this is the guy I would go after. Paul Pogba, heavily linked with a move away from Old Trafford. Not sure it's going to happen in this window, but this guy is one of the most complete midfielders in the game. Now, he's valued at £55.5 million. Unfortunately, unlike Trent and Marcus, you're probably going to have to spend a little bit more than the current market valuation in order to get him. I think we had to give up £80 million to get Paul Pogba, but either way, this guy is still absolutely superb. He's 87 rated, and he's 26 years old, so right now he's in the prime of his career, and despite the fact he's 26 years old, he's still got a couple more ratings to grow as well, and can reach 89 overall, or perhaps with dynamic potential, get into the 90s as well. And the reason I choose Pogba as the new central midfielder in, there are so many names you could get. Kevin De Bruyne, Sol perhaps as well, Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio. The reason I choose Pogba is because this guy is so good at both ends of the pitch. Now, he's got high medium work rates, but at 6'3", he's physically very strong, Paul Pogba. He's quick, he's got good agility, good balance and strength and stamina as well. Physically, he's very well rounded at 6'3", and when going forward, he's a real handful as well. And alongside De Jong and Busquets is going to be the guy that sits deep. De Jong's not going to go forward that much for you, but Pogba, I would operate as an advanced playmaker in this team and really utilise his offensive ability. With 87 dribbling, with the flair trait, 5-star skills and the long shot rating as well, I would definitely recommend Pogba as your new starting central midfielder ahead of the Brazilian Arthur, who's a very good young talent, no doubt about it, but I personally look to operate Pogba as part of that midfield trio. Busquets is going to sit deep and just protect the back four. De Jong's not going to get forward that much as more of a deep line playmaker in your team, but Pogba is the one that's going to get forward and really assist your front three. And with his range of stats as well, he'd be an absolute boss and very hard to stop. There are loads of different players you get for that role if you don't want to get Pogba. Again, De Bruyne from Man City would be an excellent option as a creative player, but personally, I'd recommend Paul Pogba. That's just my personal recommendation. Again, for £80 million, it's a lot of money to give up, but I think it'd prove to be worth every single penny. So after the signing of Pogba, I got a bid here for Philippe Coutinho, and again, this is why I'd recall Coutinho from Bayern Munich. Right now at the Allianz, he's not really going to be doing you anything whilst he's out of Germany right now on loan, other than just them paying his wages. But Coutinho, you can get around 70 to 80 million pounds for the Brazilian in the first season, and all it's going to cost you is 2 million to recall him. So we agreed a deal with Juventus for 75 million pounds for the cam/left winger, as Coutinho goes to Turin. And again, that right there is just sensible business. Whilst he's out on loan at Bayern Munich right now, he's doing you no favours whatsoever. But if you bring him back, 86 overall, he can either play as a starter in your team, if you want, perhaps as a central midfielder to do part of the midfield trio role. He can play as an inside forward on the left, or he can come off the bench. Really, the choice is yours, or if you want, you can sell him and raise the cash. I'd recommend the latter. Sell him, get some money for him, and again, for £75 million, Coutinho. Right now at Bayern Munich, he's doing nothing for you, but 75 million, that's a lot of money, and all you've got to do is pay 2 million to get him back. But after the sale of Coutinho, I then did decide to go after the big dog. I was waiting to see if we could get a bid for Coutinho so I could go after him. Neymar was going to be my final signing in this Barcelona career mode. Unfortunately, right now valued at £95 million, 92 rated to one of the very best players in the game, 27 years old. Unfortunately, didn't have enough money to sign him after the sale of Coutinho, so what I had to do was wait until the season ticket sales came in, and then we get some more cash raised to our budget. Before the start of the season, you always get, about a week before the first game of the domestic season, you get season ticket sales, and when you're managing a big club with a big stadium, you often get a massive boost to your transfer budget. So that boost there gave us around £165 million to work with, and that will give us enough to sign Neymar. So originally I couldn't get him, but after the season ticket sales, we had enough to sign him. Neymar, as we know, left Barcelona a few years ago to go to France, and since he's joined Paris Saint-Germain, he's been heavily linked with moves back to Spain and away from Paris Saint-Germain. He was linked with a move to Real Madrid not too long ago, but I think he'd love to come home and come back to Barcelona. Of course, who was the club he signed for after he left Santos many years ago, and eventually we managed to agree a deal with Paris Saint-Germain of £140 million for the Brazilian, and as you can see, we had to put him on an absolutely massive wage, £390,000 a week with a £3.6 million sign-on bonus. But at 27 years old, this guy right now is peaking, he's in the prime of his career, and at 92 overall, he's one of the very best players in the world. I would recommend bringing Neymar home once you sold Coutinho, and again, that's why you recall Coutinho from Bayern Munich. Right now, he's doing nothing for you, but you can flip him into Neymar if you're smart with your business. So Neymar comes in, his key stats: agility 96, dribbling 96, ball control 95, 5-star skill moves, 5-star weak foot, can play on the left hand side as an inside forward or as a cam with the high medium work rates. And again, this guy's stats are absolutely phenomenal all round. Technically, this guy, it's like he plays with a ball on a string. It's just absolutely amazing to watch this guy play, man. He's such a great player, and I would recommend bringing him back to Barcelona. So yeah, Neymar became my fourth and final signing with this Barcelona side, and again, this is why I recommend buying an inside forward for the left hand side. If you do bring Neymar back to Barcelona, what I would recommend doing is putting Suarez at 32 years old on the bench as you gradually begin to phase him out. Griezmann is your main out-and-out striker, and Neymar now stepping in from the left-hand side to shoot on his preferred right foot. And that is my recommendation on how to handle the Antoine Griezmann dilemma. So yeah, in the end, it was a very interesting summer window with Barcelona spending an absolute fortune bringing in our new players, spending over £250 million, I think it was, on our 4 new players. But the players we brought in: Paul Pogba, Marcus Rashford, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and bringing Neymar back to Barcelona as well. And all we had to do was sell Vidal, Sergio Roberto, and that's it. So it was a brilliant transfer window in the end for Barcelona. Oh, sorry, and Coutinho as well, after we got him back from Bayern Munich after his loan spell. So it was a brilliant transfer window for Barcelona. We got the 4 main targets I was after, and through selling Roberto and Vidal and bringing in the likes of Rashford and Trent Alexander-Arnold, our side has now gotten better and also younger at the same time as well. So we spent a lot of money on bringing in those 4 new players and bringing Neymar home, but the question was, would our new look Barcelona team be able to win the treble like the board asked of you in the first season? The strongest aims you can get, win literally everything. Well, as you can see, after the first season with Barcelona asked to win the treble, Barcelona would win La Liga by a single point. Oh my word, winning 34 out of 38 games in La Liga, scoring 97 goals and only conceding 13, so having the best defensive record in the division, winning it by a single point over Real Madrid, and also Atletico Madrid finished in 3rd place with 100 points. So 3 teams finished with 100 plus points in the first season, but Barcelona would win La Liga and would win the crown. Would they win the Copa del Rey as well to complete a domestic double? Yes, they would. Beat Atletico Atletico Madrid by 3-0 in the final to win the domestic double. But would they win the grand prize, the Champions League as well, and complete the treble? Yes, they would. They beat Spurs by 3-0. Spurs once again reached the Champions League final, but unfortunately for the second time for them, they are beaten finalists. As I find it quite interesting as well, they actually won the Champions League semi-finals despite losing the second leg 2-0. So they won the first leg 3-0 in Spain. I can imagine Neymar scoring a hat-trick in that one. But yeah, either way, a treble for Barcelona in the first season, winning La Liga by a single point in the end ahead of Real Madrid, and winning the Copa del Rey and the Champions League against Atletico Madrid and Spurs by the same scoreline, 3-0 in each of those finals. So yeah, we spent lots and lots and lots of money bringing in those 4 new players. However, I would recommend all 4 of them. And again, it all depends on what you do with Griezmann in the first season with Barcelona. You know, if you want to play him as a left winger and keep him as a left-hand side player and keep Suarez up top, then I would recommend bringing in either Timo Werner or Lautaro Martinez. As you said, Alexander-Arnold here grew a rating in his first season. Some very nice technical stat improvements here, and as you can see, also managed to score a goal and get 5 assists in score 2 goals even, and get 5 assists in La Liga in the first season. Yeah, I'd recommend an out-and-out striker if you are going to keep Griezmann on the left-hand side to replace Luis Suarez with long-term. However, I personally think Griezmann will be better suited to playing through the middle of the park, and again, bringing Neymar back means you won't have to play Griezmann on the bench. You can put Suarez on the bench in the first season and phase him out quicker, as he is 32 years old and due to decline in stats anytime soon. Really, it's up to you, but that's my personal recommendation regardless. But Rashford had a disappointing season, unfortunately, in the first season. Only grew 2 ratings. I know he played 7 times as well. I don't really know why, but Pogba absolutely bossed it in the first season. He scored 10 goals and got 13 assists in La Liga in the first season. Grew 2 ratings to 89 overall and grew his market valuation by 13% as well. And again, that's why I choose Paul Pogba for a new central midfielder here. If you give him free reign to go forward in attack, he will be a handful, as will this guy as well. Neymar in his first season back at Barcelona, 21 goals in 38 games, one of the top scorers in La Liga in his first season back, plus 8 goals in 13 Champions League games as well, and 4 in 6 in the Copa del Rey too. I definitely would recommend bringing Neymar back to Barcelona in the first season. It's just really nice to do that, and having him as an inside forward on the left-hand side, you know he's going to score you a lot of goals. I believe he was the joint highest scorer in the Champions League in this first season. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of money spent on Pogba, Rashford, Alexander-Arnold, and of course the big dog Neymar as well. But when you look at the side here, Trent, Paul and Neymar all going into the first 11, with Rashford as a new impact sub coming off the bench with his pace as well. This will be an unbelievable Barcelona team, and so hard to stop, not just for the present but the future as well. It's gotten better, it's gotten younger, it's got more exciting, and you are set to dominate European football with this new look Barcelona side once you make those 4 signings. But that was today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys. So big thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy today's episode, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.